MLB The Show video / commentary on June 19th. Today is we're going to play Road to the Show. And while I play Road to the Show, we're going to talk some Astros baseball. Along with the rest of Major League Baseball as well. So, anywho, let's get into it. Currently, our winners of 12 consecutive games. 12 games ago, I wouldn't have told you that 12-game winning streak would be on the horizon. But one thing I noticed about this team is that somehow, some way, they find a way, and I think that's the best quality about them. Like, they figure out every single way to come up with different ways to be great, whether it's through pitching, whether it's through the offense. Now the offense is starting to wake up. Defense, you name it, they've done it all season. When it comes to finding ways to win, but the offense had been sporadic. Well, now the offense is finding ways to come up with wins, especially on the road. So your defending world champions are coming up with every kind of way to somehow, some way win these games. And that's the best thing about them, I would say. Now, their issues, the bullpen has their issues, and, you name it. Sometimes, a couple of the starters don't have great starts. Keuchel's been struggling a bit at times. McCullers has his days. Even Charlie Morton's had his days, and he'll tell you, I'm sure. Charlie Morton will tell you, he's had some rough starts, particularly the one against Texas recently. But for the most part, this team continues to be the best team in baseball, I think, and have been that way for the majority of the season, except for a couple of, Yankee, a couple of weeks where the Yankees were just absolutely dominant and refused to lose. So, aside from that, it's pretty much been Astro-centric this entire season. And I'm happy to be a fan of these guys because, for years all I heard was, they're not going to do anything in the postseason, or, the Astros, all that good stuff. So, it's really fun to watch these guys perform and be great. And, so my whole thing is for them is that they need to keep this thing going, because it doesn't seem like the Yankees or the Red Sox or even the Mariners are going to go anywhere. And there's still a Cleveland influence that you have to worry about, and so there's a few factors at play, but I think for sure that this team is probably headed toward another lengthy postseason run. There's a couple of things they need to figure out. Well, do they go after more bullpen help? Do they, maybe even entertain the idea of going after another, bat, to keep the, to scare the opposing teams when it comes to, their offense. Because even though their offense is really good, you can never have enough bats. So whether it's a bat off your bench or a bat, a DH when, Gaddis, you don't want to have to put Gaddis up there against a right-handed hitter, even though he's been absolutely smoking for the last, month or last couple of weeks. There's a lot of factors play. Speaking of moves, onto baseball on the Major League Baseball real quick. The Washington Nationals acquiring Kelvin Herrera. I did not see that one coming at all. I did not see that one coming on June 18th. That's for sure. That is one thing I did not see coming. they didn't trade the Nationals. I mean, the Nationals didn't trade a ton of people to get him. They traded a couple of prospects in their system, but they didn't do anything that was too crazy. Trading a number one or number two prospect. But I like the deal for both teams, but I do think that the Nationals could have waited. And possibly have someone like Herrera, even though Herrera has had his issues from time to time, whether it's with control or with injury, maybe, there is something about there is something to be said about somebody who can miss bats like Herrera can, and someone who can come in even before the ninth inning that could change the complexion of a game when it comes to, hey, it's 1-0, it's 2-1 in the eighth, and I can bring Herrera in and I can shut down an inning at any time, even if I'm facing 3, 4, 5. So I like the move for both teams, even though I think Kansas City could have maybe waited to do this deal, but maybe they thought that they weren't going to get any better at all at this point. So all in all, I like the move for Kansas City and Washington, and needless to say, both teams are going to benefit down the road from this, and the Royals still have work to do because there's a chance they'll probably trade Moustakas. There's a chance they could trade Danny Duffy. I doubt that, but as you watch me strike out for me thinking some other pitch was coming. But yeah, for every move that Kansas City makes is going to determine whether they'll decide whether the greatness will come like it did, down the road for them in 2014 and 15, especially 15. A statistic that I saw. This is the last thing, by the way, y'all, because I was going to make this a short video. So before I started really diving into this whole editing thing, Kansas City's closer in 2015 is with the Rockies, Wade Davis, and the Rockies spent over $100 million on relief pitching this offseason and this past offseason. And from the looks of it, it doesn't look like it's working because McGee and Brian Shaw are both struggling as well, just like Wade Davis. And they have the next to worst ERA in baseball when it comes to a bullpen. And it just shows you that, damn, I'm a strikeout artist, y'all. It just goes to show you that you can't really pay for that sort of thing when it comes to, pitching for the Rockies. Coors Field is nothing to play with when it comes to pitching, obviously. And this is another year that's showing that you can't just buy your way to a great bullpen. Anyway, that's the last thing I got for right now. I'm going to keep, throwing these out. I'm trying to get better at this whole editing, game capture, microphone thing. Look out for the Club podcast in about a month or so. Me and my boy Alfred Matthews, you'll see him on Twitter, at @A_Matthew713. Him and myself will more than likely do a podcast here in the coming weeks. And so get ready for that. And I will talk to you guys on the flip side.